The following is brought to you by the Starfleet Podcast Network, SPN The Spin. Anyone listening, watching this recording, this is the Starfleet Podcast Network, and the Starfleet Podcast Network is a group of different Star Trek podcasts. We got together and decided, let's all do something kind of like a federation, our own United Federation of podcasts or something like that, which at one point was one of the proposed names that we had, but ultimately settled on the Starfleet Podcast Network. Right now in this chat, we've got at least one representative from each of the four podcasts. So we've got right now Megan and Aaron and Sarah with the podcast called Tribbles and Transporters. We've got Spanner and Alfie, the podcast Highly Illogical. And we've got Handy right now, who is the representative today for Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk. And then you've got myself, Big J, with Beyond Trek Podcast. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate us all being able to get together across various time zones.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks for setting it up, man. This was all Big J's idea, in fact. We should put that in there as well. I think you deserve the captain's chair for that one, Jay.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, and I've been trying to think of a good story for how I came up with this idea, because it was literally when I was doing my usual thinking in the restroom, where I do all my thinking and reading. And I thought, I should think of a better way to basically, I'm sitting on the can and it just hit me that I should get together with some other podcasters and do kind of a group thing. And the reason that came about was we had some, I wouldn't call it stagnant, but the growth was just really kind of, it was kind of like leveling off, and we can't compete with the big boys out there. So it seems like we're all kind of going after the same 100 to 200 subscribers and trying to stubbornly grow our audience. So it seemed like, well, okay, why don't we get some of our podcasts together, if anything, just to have fun talking about Star Trek and having more of us to possibly work with, talk with, hang out with, if anything. And then the big part is being able to kind of like cross-pollinate our audiences. We're working on a website right now, which is under construction. And basically the purpose of the website is going to be, when you visit it, you'll be able to see some info, be able to click on, which is how I'm envisioning it, click on the icon for each of the podcasts and see more about them. Social media pages, description, things like that. So, for example, Tribbles and Transporters. You talk about how you're part of the Starfleet Podcast Network. Here's the website. Your fans visit that and they see, oh, here's a group of others. I wonder what they do. What do they talk about? And the nice thing is that right now with the four of us, we're like the four founding fathers, we each cover a very different part of Star Trek. So it's not like we're all doing the same thing. Tribbles and Transporters, you guys have been reviewing what's already aired, what's already been on. And right now, if I recall, you guys just moved to the original series to talk about.
Our most recent episode was a TNG episode.
Okay, TNG episode.
So what we do is we started out with a TOS episode, and then we moved through each series in chronological order all the way to Enterprise. Then sometimes we have a topic episode that we call, so it's anything we want to talk about in Star Trek. And then we cycle back around to original series. We have also done a couple of episodes of Discovery and some coverage of Picard.
Okay.
And Strange New Worlds, yeah.
Oh, yes, and Strange New Worlds.
That's excellent. That's good. And then Spanner and Alfie with Highly Illogical, you guys do a game show. which I've been on a couple times, and that's how I got to meet the Tribbles and Transporters crew. So you see how that works? You start participating in others' stuff, and I got to tell you, I like the trivia. I really like the trivia, except the time that I got my ass beat when Tribbles and Transporters was on with their music trivia. Wow, I thought I knew a lot about Star Trek, but
doesn't she pick really hard stuff?
Yes, it was hard.
And I every time.
It was very challenging.
Easy on us, and I still felt like I was accidentally guest on a Harry Potter podcast or something. I had no idea what was happening.
Well, Spanner and Alfie, could you tell us a little bit more about your podcast?
It's mostly us laughing at our own jokes, but I think you can probably say more about that, Alfie.
Yeah, no, that about sums it up. But otherwise, it's basically the Highly Illogical weekly Star Trek live quiz about Star Trek. Ultimately, we pick a topic each week, and it could be anything random. Usually it's someone from the chat or one of our viewers that will suggest a topic. And then we have to, compile questions. We have some like repeating rounds. We have like picture round, we have audio visual round. We have made up bullshit rounds. There's no winners. There's just losers. And it's just a lot of fun. And Big J, you smashed it. And so did the Tribbles and Transporters, all wonderful guests, and really like stretched our Trek knowledge as well, because me and Spanner have got into a point now where we're just trying to like catch each other out all the time, because basically I know what he knows about Star Trek and he knows what I know about Star Trek. So it's really good to have other like-minded guests on who can really like challenge our expectations on the show. And I think that's what kind of adds to the illogicalness of it. But yeah, check it out. Wednesday is at 7 p.m. UK time and whatever other time you're in.
Yeah, equivalent. It could be in the future for some of you guys. So
it's a lot of fun.
Pay attention to the temporal prime directive if you do tune in from somewhere else.
So right now, if you Google Tribbles and Transporters, Highly Illogical, Beyond Trek podcast, and Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk, right now that's how you can find us. But at some point here, it's going to be go to this one drop-off point. So Handy, you're the one with Trek Talk that's here with us today. Could you give us a little, I guess, can you give us a little info on you guys, how you started and what part of Star Trek you talk about?
Well, we originally started because of a game we all play, which is Star Trek Fleet Command. And we still talk about the game quite a bit, but we've moved into, really since day one, we've always talked about Trek in general. And I wish Tech was here because he's really the mastermind.
Yeah, shame on him. Ding, ding.
I know,
shame.
Right? I sent him a message, but I don't know. He's probably got real life stuff going on, kids causing havoc or something.
Yeah.
But we basically started out talking about the game that we all play together. Like a couple people that are in the audience here, I believe, are like some of our gaming friends. And beyond that, we also talk about any new Trek stuff that comes out. So anything rumored to be coming out, any of the new shows when they come out, we typically review those and just have fun with it. Just all geek out together and talk about our shared love of Star Trek.
Yeah, I like that. Can I bore you guys with Beyond Trek? Oh, you have more. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say pretty much the gist of it. I was curious, though. I know, Big J, that you've played Star Trek Fleet Command. Does anybody else?
Yep, I play it.
Does anybody else play?
No, I heard it was very expensive to get into it.
Yes, it is.
No, you can play it free to play, but it's a fairly comprehensive game.
I think it's very prohibitive to do free to play. There are literally paywalls in there that you will not get past a certain point if you don't open up the wallet, which is a shame.
That's only partially true. That's only
I mean, the
partially
game
true.
developers need to make money somehow. I don't mind
Well-
paying, but as long as I don't get another addiction to my addiction list.
There's
Well, for
making
example,
money and
if
then
you
there's extortion.
If you spend just $20 a month on their battle pass or whatever, I mean, you can have a great time playing. You're plugged in the community. You're having a good time. Yeah, it's fun. I would. Hey, we make jokes on our podcast that would you recommend this game to anybody? And we all joke and we say no.
Nope.
We don't recommend the game to anybody. And it's kind of true, but at the same, I do love the game and I play it regularly. So what are you going to do?
Do you have any footage of you playing the game that you can share, or
I don't.
homework?
Yeah, exactly. Something to strive for, but I don't do a lot of video stuff in general.
Well, that's a shame. Video's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I just not good at it, I guess. It's just something new I got to learn.
Oh, yeah, that's true. And plus, you can't be camera shy.
And do you have
That's
to be
true.
good at it though? Do you have to necessarily be good at it?
Oh,
I think like everyone can just
this.
put a camera on, right?
Not
I
for
can't stay
something
still
like-
for a second. Sorry.
Right, but for something like this, I could have easily set it up. I just didn't ahead of time, and I don't want to scramble in the middle of this trying to set it up. But next time. But for like recording the game, I feel like Star Trek Fleet Command is one of those games you can't really record and make it fun to watch. Like,
You're right.
I just don't feel like it's one of those games, unfortunately. But anyway, I'm
it's
sorry,
not-
Big J. Go ahead.
You're right. It's not very exciting to watch, or at least for someone else to watch you play. It's not. It's really not. It is
Watching yourself is exciting.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
So the Beyond Trek podcast, the way we first started out, and this was, it was either June or July 2019. For some reason, I always forget which month. I've got it written down, but well, yeah, you know what? At least I'm pretty sure it was Saturday, June 29th, 2019. Was the birth
0.4.
at 10:42 a.m. No, I'm just kidding. The way we started at first was I did not want to be an episode review show. That was the first thing, because everybody is doing that. Every time there's a new Star Trek podcast, it seems like the first thing they do is let's review the top 10 episodes of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And it just is like, okay, that's old. Star Trek podcast already kind of fat in the tail as it is. Why do another episode review thing? So the thought was doing like some Star Trek related audio dramas, skits, some things like that. And we still did, like, if there's something special, San Diego Comic-Con or any kind of Comic-Con, when if there's a Trek actor that passed away, we would do like a in memoriam kind of show. And what changed Beyond Trek podcast was when it was announced that we were going to get a Star Trek series based on Jean-Luc Picard. So when that was announced, and I believe that was at the San Diego Comic-Con, when that was announced, and we had a big talk when that happened. And it was, okay, we did say we weren't going to do episode reviews because we wanted to try to be different and unique. However, everyone's going to be talking about this. When Picard starts, it's going to be the thing that is in the Star Trek news. So do we want to play ball, or do we just want to stick our thumbs in the thought of doing episode reviews? So at that point, it was decided if we're going to be relevant, we need to do that. We can certainly still do other things. Like we've had some of the Star Trek actors on our show that we've done interviews with, like Will Wheaton, Tim Russ, John Billingsley. We had Robert Picardo on it, not as a direct one-on-one with him, but he was part of a podcast episode we did on it was called Trek the Vote. So we've had some of the stars on there, which is awesome. But we've also, and that's when we started doing the episode reviews. And the thing that was nice about it was we had our own spin on it. And oh, by the way, the Starfleet Podcast Network, the initials SPN, we call it the Spin. Get it? SPN, Spin. So anyway, I digress. And
I thought it was incredibly clever.
Right?
It blew my mind.
It was. We just kind of walked backwards into that because the name came up and it was what was voted on. And at some random point, it was, oh, you know what? Those initials sound like Spin. So we call it the Spin.
Is it related to, sorry to interrupt, is it related to the Spore Drive at all? Because that kind of spins.
Oh, no.
If you've read Andy Weir's latest book, that's actually got a spaceship with a spin drive.
Ooh.
We'll just claim it after the fact. Yes, that is exactly what it.
Yeah.
We will backdate that. And Alfie, thank you for that. We'll backdate that idea. So we'll say that you came up with that idea as we were building the groundwork.
Like the Vulcans invented Velcro, I invented that idea.
Oh my God, yes.
It's just my favorite thing ever.
Good call.
Velcro.
Velcro and that episode.
All Spanner's clothes are made of with Velcro, like attached, fastened by a Velcro.
You should see when I take my trousers off, I just kind of rip them off,
Exactly. He's like a stripper in his own home.
Yeah, that's where strippers got the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now
I got it
that
from Holocaust.
Vulcan strippers, I wonder what that would. That might seem kind of boring. I think, yeah.
I don't know. Spock was really ripped in Strange New World, so
Sure. Yeah. So here's the first topic I think I'd like to talk about with you guys is the series finale of Star Trek Picard. Now,
not seen it.
You've not seen it? Are you serious?
I can leave the. I'll leave the.
No, that's okay.
Come back. No, seriously.
We'll just ruin it for you. It's okay.
No, I'll leave the room. I'll leave the country.
Well, it wasn't. So it's pretty much been talked about a lot already. Didn't that episode was a week and a half ago? Is that right? Or was it 2.5 weeks now? Yeah. Something like a week and a half. Well, so here's the main thing, and I am okay. So Alfie, have you heard the talk online about the fans wanting another Star Trek series?
Well, Star Trek Legacy.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was going to be another thing. Really, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about was Star Trek Legacy, or the possibility of getting that. So
I assume that would be a Star Trek sort of starring the Next Generation cast, essentially, or a mix of the older cast, like 7 of 9 from Voyager, and like proceeding to do another series.
Well, let me do this. I'll put Tribbles and Transporters on the spot to explain Star Trek Legacy without spoiling the last episode of Star Trek Picard for Alfie.
If you don't mind, thank you very much.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Who wants to be the sacrificial lamb?
You got to explain it in a way that doesn't give away a lot of spoilers.
All right. So, Star Trek Legacy supposedly is in development, although they're saying it's not. But it's going to follow some of the characters, not the main TNG cast, but some of the newer characters. And
shit, I get it. Like the offspring of...
Yeah. Plus, maybe not quite the offspring, but some of the other characters that aren't part of the TNG crew.
But people that are very much featured in Star Trek in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in Picard.
Yes.
Okay, so they're using some of the characters from all 3 seasons of Picard, plus some of the offspring, plus they say they'll sprinkle in maybe some of the legacy characters as well, but they're not going to be the main focus.
Let's bring Wayun into the mix. I would love that. Wayun and Will Ducat. Will Ducat, baby. Sorry. I'm excited now.
Find a way to give us Cisco. I don't care how you do it. Get it done. Find a way.
But he's gone. He's off floating in a wormhole. How are we going to get him?
Nope. Find a way. I don't know.
Come back.
They've written more. I had no idea that they were going to. I mean, the way they brought back Data was brilliant. I didn't know how they were going to do that.
They did a good job.
They did a very good job on that. So I'm sure they can bring back Cisco. I don't think that
he's not dead.
Right. You're right. That's the thing. That's what makes it easy. He's
Wesley
not dead.
Crusher. Wesley Crusher
He'll
bring
be
back.
back. So then come back.
Yep. I like
They
it.
could bring any of them back. I think they could figure out a way, except for people that have obviously passed. But they could figure out a way to bring somebody back
I think
if they
the
wanted
tricky
to.
bit of that, actually, though, is not so much bringing Cisco back as Avery Brooks, because isn't he sort of totally off his marbles?
Yeah. He doesn't act anymore.
Yeah, that's the thing I didn't realize was that you could certainly bring back the character. It's just getting the actor to play ball.
I mean, he could have evolved into like a wormhole prophet by this point. So it doesn't even have to be the same actor. It just has to embody his essence.
Me. I don't have hair.
You said
I have a
that.
goatee.
Well, they could do
I'm
an
a black
adjacent
man.
character too, right?
Hire me on as Cisco. I will do it.
If you're on Big J, then you should do it.
Give me
Let's
minimum
make
wage.
this happen. Let's make this happen, everybody.
You can pay me minimum wage. I don't care.
You got my vote.
Thank you. I'll take it. I'll take all the votes.
Let's start a hashtag. Let's get this trending. Let's get this done.
What would be a good hashtag? Hashtag Big J Cisco.
Big J's my next Cisco or whatever.
Big J's wormhole.
I like where your head is at on that, but it doesn't
Can we all
quite.
go through Big J's wormhole? That's my
There we
next.
go. It writes itself.
There you go. Oh, see, you put that out there in the universe, and Big J's wormhole.
It's going to be a hashtag for something.
Yeah.
Oh God,
I'm not Googling.
Look what
it,
you've
but-
started now.
no! Don't Google that because
Because it's there. And,
it could already be there, and it's not going to be what you expect.
oh, now I'm definitely Googling it.
So that's the gist with Legacy and why so many people are dying to get it. It's because the whole stage is ripe for bringing back and having appearances by cast members from Next Gen, DS9, and Voyager, because these people are.
Do you think it'll be episodic? How would they go about that?
No, I don't think episodic. I think it's still going to be serialized, just that they have the okay, so you know how Tim Russ, how he was brought in this season. You can have those cameos, but they won't just be fan service cameos, because these people are all still, well, I won't say all of them, but they could very well still be a big portion of them in Starfleet. They still have careers. They're still working. So there are I think there would be very legitimate ways of showing these characters, bringing back whoever it is. They may be kind of like Commander Rowe, how they brought back Ro Laren. Didn't see that one coming either.
Yeah.
Things like that. But it wasn't just she was relevant to the events and to the episode. Mm-hmm. I think that's what they're going to do, is they're going to make it to where if we have O'Brien, if we have Bashir, if we have Harry Kim, who's probably still an ensign, it's going to be relevant to the story and to the episode. It's just that they can cultivate people from there. You've got a whole wide range of actors and appearances you can bring. And the fans know that their voices will definitely be heard on this, because that's the reason we have Star Trek Strange New Worlds. The fans loved Anson Mount and Ethan Peck, Anson Mount as Pike, Ethan Peck as Spock, and oh my God, Rebecca Romijn as number one. The Enterprise, the characters were so spectacular that they hammered it for getting that series, and we got it. Now, me personally, I think Legacy's no brainer.
I think that came after a lot of work, from experimenting with Discovery and how the fans didn't take to Discovery so easily. And so I think the beauty of Strange New Worlds, going back to episodic episodes, as Handy mentioned earlier, I don't know if that was in favor of the episodic episode, but I know my personal favorites in an episodic format because you can tap in and out, and that's comforting about Star Trek.
Sure.
And
I love it.
It is. Yeah. It's something I miss about New Trek. I was just curious if they could bring something like that back. Like Strange New Worlds, very episodic, and I like that. But I was just curious how you thought they might do it.
New shows in general, there's almost nothing episodic anymore.
I know, and I miss it.
You're right. The television landscape has really changed. And I'd like to hear from Megan. How about Megan? Tribbles and Transporters. How do you feel about the kind of the growth of serialized Star Trek as opposed to episodic like Strange New Worlds? Is it something that you favor and you like? Should we do more episodic, or is it good enough to have one series that does that, serialize the rest of them?
And I will say, for me, of the completed Trek shows, Deep Space Nine is my favorite because it was serialized. So it was this ongoing story that allowed the character growth to happen inside of that universe, and a huge storyline to happen over 7 seasons. So I love serialized shows. But on the flip side of that, what I love about Strange New Worlds is that it's serialized for the character development, but episodic. As just you have each individual episode. You can also follow along and see how these characters are learning and growing their experiences. Just where I think the original series, as much as I like that, I think that's where the episodic part of the original series failed, in that it wasn't all that great they just had this big tragic thing happen. Now the next episode there's no mention of that. There's nothing that's affected that character that way. So for me, I much prefer serialized. I like watching big stories that take place over time, but I'm fine too with a format the way Strange New Worlds is on being a more episodic driven for New Trek. Because look, we're all busy. We don't have the time to devote as much to sitting down and binge watching what you would have to do with serialized television. But again, I prefer serialized, but the episodic is great too.
Aaron, Sarah, what do you two think?
Well, as the Voyager fan on our podcast, I'm kind of in the same boat as Megan. Now, Voyager, I don't know necessarily that they did the best at keeping character arcs going. There are times when things seem to go backwards, or as Megan said, people kind of just shrug off major things that happen to them, and it's like it never happened. And that's probably due to the way they filmed it. They probably didn't know what order things were going to be in, and so characters weren't reacting to things. But you do have the big overarching story of Voyager's trying to go from point A to point B, and through the entire series, we did eventually get from point A to point B. So I like little bits of both. I'm not sure which way I would go on that as a preference. I really enjoyed the serialized version. To me, serialized Star Trek feels like a expanded movie just chopped up into pieces so that you can take it in bite-sized pieces, which is great because then you get sort of this epic story unfolding. But as others have said, we may not all have time to sit down and devote to that. And, the fact that we're sitting here trying to talk about Star Trek Legacy and the potential of it, And we're having to dance around the fact that some people may not have been able to see.
Damn you, Alfie.
Seriously, I can go now. So.
But I mean, we had that, Big J and I had that the other day because we tried to record a podcast episode, and I had kind of casually mentioned in our setting it up that, by the way, I haven't seen the last episode of Picard yet. I've seen all the rest. And he missed me saying that.
My dumbass.
And then he sat down and was like,
did not.
No, thankfully, all he did was say, all right, so let's do our discussion on the season finale of Picard. And I went, no. By the way, I can't do that.
Not here.
Then we had to reschedule our recording for after a time when I was able to go back and watch. And that made it difficult because right now my schedule is really full. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to fit that in, it was something I had to specifically schedule a time to watch the episode, which would make it hard for some people.
Sarah, what do you think?
I like a combo of, I like the DS9 type of model where it's episodic, but they don't ignore character storylines. So they do continue character storylines through the seasons. And so you don't have that reset happen after each episode. Drove me crazy with TNG, because TNG is my favorite Trek show. And I always hated when they would have character development and then the next episode is like nothing happened, Yeah. So that I don't like that. So I do like the way that, DS9 handled it, where they would keep that character development and continue with it. But each episode is self-contained at the same time. I don't watch television, and actually Picard is the very first serialized television show that I ever saw. Because if I do watch TV, it tends to be like sitcoms, which are all episodic pretty much anyway. I'm not a huge fan of just like the straight serialized stuff because it's way too plot heavy, and I get Megan and Aaron can tell you I get lost and don't understand what's going on.
We basically had to tell her, okay, Sarah, you're not going to figure all of this out at the end of this episode. Just hold your horses. It's not going to wrap it all up in a bow for you.
Ride the wave.
I don't like that.
Or explain something because she's zoned out and
I do, like, they start going off on like some techno babble or start trying to explain something, and then I just I'm tuning it out. It's like I know the gist of what they're saying, but I can't tell you what's happening actually. So that's kind of how I watch Star Trek. I like watching the character moments. I'll be able to tell you like character stuff that happens and like some cool like starship operations type stuff that happens. Like that's the kind of stuff I like. Mm-hmm. But when they start, the plot stuff is secondary to me, and so I don't pay close enough attention to
our podcast doing episode reviews is a lot of, wait, what? When did that happen?
Yeah. Who didn't do their homework?
That's actually the beauty of the quiz. There's a beauty of the quiz that we do because we can intentionally trip each other up with obscure things that did happen in Star Trek, but we probably can't remember. I mean, obviously there's so much discourse to talk about. So yeah.
Or for us to ask Sarah a technobabble question because she's tuned out on that part. So
yeah, if it's something the character said, I'm not getting it. Yeah. I mean, we do the quiz on our podcast where we quiz each other on the episode that we're discussing, and we do try to find the most obscure things to trip each other up as well. And Aaron inevitably asks about a dialogue question, and I'm clueless.
I do dialogue questions. Megan and Sarah both very often say, okay, so in the background of this shot, there were 3 statues. What was the third one from the left?
What the?
Oh, yeah. Now, don't let Aaron fool her because she just evil. There's a candelabra in the background. How many candles are on it?
Well, that's only because you guys did it first.
Oh, who opened the door to that?
Well, it's not any fun if you ask easy questions.
Well, but there's a difference between easy and oh my god.
Well, the thing is, we're prepared now because we expect these types of questions. So when we watch the episode, we watch as carefully as possible, and take notes as well. Yeah. But
several pages of notes per episode.
It's awesome. It sounds really fun. I love like I said, the obscurities of Trek. Last episode that we had around that was the topic was uniforms that week, and one of the rounds was uniforms or unicorn. And so basically really not irrelevant to Star Trek and it's ridiculous. And it was just like a really distorted picture. And you had to tell me if it's a Starfleet character wearing a uniform or if it's a picture of a unicorn. And so it's not really hard, but it is also hard at the same time and probably just a waste of everybody's time. But yeah.
Fun is never a waste of time.
Especially when it's about Star Trek, right, Andy? If it's about Star Trek, it's never a waste of time.
Exactly.
Okay, this is off topic, but it's driving me crazy. How do I get Discord to not, whatever it's doing, like my shirt says expendable on it, but it's backwards? Is that?
It's not to us.
It's not to you? Just to me?
Atari. This is the whole Atari situation.
Okay, yeah, like to me it says Atari, but to Spanner says errata.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the discussion that it mirrors.
Yeah, it mirrors. Right? I don't like that.
Ooh. So yeah, I found it crazy right now. There's an absolutely enormous like flying thing that came in through the window. So I just don't want it to like fly on my head. So that's what I'm doing. Yeah, exactly.
Why is your window open?
I was wondering if you were being attacked by aliens or something.
I think possibly, yes. It is. It's enormous, but it's hanging out of the ceiling right now.
So if Alfie's video feed just suddenly goes dark, we'll know something happened. Handy with Trek Talk with Tech and Kirk. What do you think? What are your feelings on episodic Trek versus serialized Trek?
You know, I can see the benefits of both. It really kind of depends. I tend to gravitate towards serialized with just a hint of episodic, right? So like more traditional Trek, essentially. So there's character development that rolls over, but I like nice, clean episodes where they roll everything up and there's no questions at the end. That's not to say that I don't enjoy both. I absolutely enjoy both, but
if you don't like questions, I don't suppose you like Star Trek quizzes then? I'm
just bad at them. I have a horrible focus issue. I'm all over the place. ADD to the max.
Woo! So, present.
Yeah, absolutely. So I get distracted super easily and I miss things, but when I am focused, I'm laser focused. So it just kind of, some things I'll get, some things I won't.
We reward lack of focus and bad answers, so you're welcome anything.
Okay, cool.
So
that's good.
Here's my thought on it, and this kind of feeds off of what Aaron said, is that when it comes to these episodes, you can't skip one. You have to watch it. Reminds me of, have any of you ever seen 24? The show 24.
Yes. It is a good show.
I know of it.
A spectacular show. Not good. So each season, each episode is 1 hour in a day. And you can't, if you miss an episode, forget about it. There's too much that happens each episode. You can't just drop in.
Bathroom in the commercial breaks when it first came on, because it would drop into the show in the commercial breaks.
You'd have to run. You'd run to the bathroom, run back, because every episode was pretty much stacked. And that's
that kind of show resonates with me because it keeps me focused.
Yes.
I know I can't miss anything, so I'm like, I have to watch this.
You have to watch it.
It's like, how did they do a 7-hour flight in 30 minutes? I can comprehend the logic of the time, how they could accomplish so many things in an hour.
What's that, Spanner?
Okay.
Agent Jack Bauer can do anything.
That's why. The Jack Bauer Power Hour. It was amazing. So that's kind of how I feel about serialized Star Trek, is that you can't miss something. You have to watch it. You can't just drop in, like you were saying with Voyager. With Voyager, you can just drop in and out, whatever, because in one episode, the episode can end with the ship just totally screwed, held together by duct tape, and then the next episode, perfectly fine. We're good. Forget about it. No problem. And that just always bothered me. Now, what I have no problem with episodic Trek. And like Handy said, I like a mix of both, because even with Strange New Worlds, it's episodic, yes, but there's that serialized undertone. So you can hop in and out of Strange New Worlds, and it's not going to be like 24, where you can't just jump in at the episode 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. You're not going to have a clue what's going on. You have to pay attention. And it was the same with Picard. You've really got to be paying attention, because every episode is tied together. It is kind of like a movie. It's a movie broken up in 10 parts. It's a 10-hour movie, basically. So, and in DS9 was ahead of its time with the serialized storytelling. But I'll venture to say that DS9 also was episodic. There were certainly lots of episodes that you could just jump in and out of. But you still
have bottle shows. Yeah.
Oh, did you just say Calamari? Why? There's always, every time you try to talk about DS9, there's that one damn person that has to put that song in my head. It takes me 6 months. Oh, God. It takes me like 6 months at a time to get that song out of my head. And now it's in there. It's just going to live rent-free in my head.
It's the worst fucking thing. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
You want to blow out my brain. I love it. It's the worst episode ever. No, it's not the worst episode ever.
That's nowhere near the worst episode ever. There's plenty on that list, and that wasn't it. Let's not talk about the one with the ghost, Crusher's ghost.
Oh, didn't light the candle.
Light that candle.
Oh, I have a candle.
Yeah, there's a candle for you. So here's.
I have to jump out in 2 minutes. So just wanted to give you a.
That's cool. Go watch Picard season 3, episode 10 as soon as you leave. Make all life stand still. Just that.
On it.
Oh, well, you know what? That raises a good point. Once you go, then we can talk about the episode. But we're not kicking you out.
Okay. Well, I will. No. I'm kicking myself out. Do not worry. Have a jolly good chat, and I'll catch the recording of it.
Okay.
Thank you for having me. This has been really fun and lovely to meet those of you who I haven't met before. And yeah, we hope to see some of your faces next week or any week on Star Trek Highly Illogical, the Highly Illogical quiz about Star Trek. Over to you, Spanner, for the rest. Good night and farewell.
Good night, Alfie.
Ciao.
Yeah, because it's nighttime for you guys over across the ocean in the UK.
It's just on 11 p.m. for Alpha.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And okay. So, is there anyone else sitting here that has not seen the season finale for Picard?
I'm safe.
We've all, the rest of us seen it. Great. So, want to talk about that a little bit. And
we have an audience member who has not.
Damn.
Come on.
That's okay. That's all right. Plenty of.
Says but ruin it, please. So.
Okay. So for anyone in the audience, you're okay with spoilers for the final episode. If not, please scream now that you're not. And I can't see the chat either. I did see the guy saying, go ahead and let me open up the chat. Okay.
It's the Jim. He'll be fine.
We're good.
He won't mind. He'll be forgotten in a couple of days.
So, and this is, Aaron, you'll recall we talked about this as well. With the last episode of Picard, there was too much setup for another series. You have the new Enterprise. You got 7 of 9 now promoted to captain, and Jack Crusher part of the crew. Now, I could have let them get away with not giving us another series based off of that. I would have excused it maybe, but once they had that scene after the credits, no, you can't. Now you can't. Now you got to do it. You can't do that.
Right.
Don't mess with my feelings like that. You can't give us that piece and then act like, oh, no, it was just something fun. We're not going to do no bullshit. Yeah, you are. We need to give it to us.
Speaking of bringing back characters from the dead.
Right.
Yes. Yes. And I don't want to say
dangle that out there only as like a little bit of a teaser and not have a series that starts with that.
You can't do it. You can't do it. Not like that. So no, sorry. We're not letting you off the hook, Paramount. That's just mean. But here's what I liked the most about, well, not so much the most, but there was a lot of the series finale of Picard that I liked. It really felt like a much better send-off for the TNG crew. And it was even done in such a way that they're not gone. They haven't disbanded.
Right.
Now, I would still be okay with if we did get Star Trek Legacy. I'm good with any of them making any kind of appearance. I don't think that would cheapen the send-off. It's just that.
I mean,
yep.
As fans, don't we just love cheap stuff, though? I mean, come on. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean,
I'll give it to you.
You're not wrong. At first, I was concerned with how many times are we going to kill off Data? Did that cheapen his?
It's hilarious.
What's that?
Did, but I thought it was hilarious. Like, why not? Like, because we all love Data, right?
We do. I'm not saying you can't have Data. You really do. It's the way that they treat the characters. If they're going to bring them back, I think is the way to go. And nothing about their wrap up would say we can never see any of these characters again. And it's not going to take away from it. The same like with Data. The way that they wrote that was Data in Nemesis up to at that point, whether it was in B4 or anyone else, you had a copy of Data. You backed up your data. So then at that point, the way they did it was this data was from the copy of the one that died in Nemesis. And then the data we got in this season was from the same copy. So you have these backup copies, and he even said it. Like he came out of it as last thing I remember was being on the Scimitar and what happened. So you didn't take away. Each data was unique in that sacrifice, and the way that they brought them back was brilliant. That was brilliant. I did not see that coming at all. And being someone that works in IT, I get it. You know what? Yeah, because you've got the copies. You can put that copy on, redo your server, rebuild the image, and it's from this data backup. And so in that regard, I can respect that. And that's what took me back to they had a much better wrap up, and I loved the Enterprise D flying in and through that Borg cube. Yeah. So Star Wars.
Wasn't it? I said the same thing. Oh God. I gotta go, guys. I'm so sorry. I want to chit chat, but I gotta go.
That's okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us.
All right. See you all later. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. I won't keep you guys tied up too much longer. I know it's Sunday and it's probably much more fun things you want to do, but yeah, I like the throwback to Return of the Jedi there. It's like the Millennium Falcon flying through the Death Star.
Well, I was a little worried when they pulled up to that Borg ship and, they're showing us, okay, we need to take out the transmitter here. I was so afraid somebody was going to say, look, there's an exhaust port. If we can get a photon torpedo into that exhaust port. I was so worried about that. I'm like, don't go there, guys.
But I used to bullseye wop rats with my T-16 at home. Thank God it wasn't an exhaust port. Like, yeah, settle up right by the thing. I'm fine. If there would have been any kind of... That would have been taking it too far. Like, now, damn it, you guys went too far. Yeah. We were okay with all of it until you did that.
I mean, cut a hole in the ship and then shoot the transmitter, sure. But find a way to thread a torpedo through into the transmitter. That would have been too far.
I still think even then, I mean, the Galaxy class is not a small ship.
No.
And so that really gives you the scale of how big the cube was for it to even have that kind of structure to fly a ship through it like that. And that the Enterprise was kind of nimble. I mean, to me, the Galaxy class is supposed to handle like a bus. But
when they have sort of evasive maneuvers and it kind of just goes sideways a little bit, or just doesn't change course at all.
Right.
I will say I did kind of chuckle at that actual visual. I'm like, this kind of looks a little bit like a kid taking their little, what were those? I have some of those little ship models that were about 2 inches long, and flying it through.
Are you talking about micro machines?
They may have been micro machine ones, but yeah, I have some of them. They're kind of rubber. And they're Star Trek ship models.
Okay.
And they came with little clear plastic stands so that you can set them up. And
I think those.
Yeah. So actually, something like this.
But you're right. It was just, you can tell that the storyboard of that. Oh yes. Does the saucer come up? Does the saucer come off that?
No, this actually came with the DS9 model.
Oh,
and actually, so it connects to one of the docking arms on DS9. So that's where I just plucked it from.
I like it.
But there was a whole line of small ships about this size that were just kind of a rubbery plastic. And I'll have to dig some of them out and send you some pictures. They're just in the other room. Some of mine are very warped. I think I have a Romulan warbird that, like our TOS Romulan warbird that's kind of twisted. So yeah, they had a whole set of them. And one of the funniest ones was the Borg cube, because it was literally just a cube of plastic.
It was. Here's your square.
You know, when you used to get things like that in a box of cereal, and you don't anymore. That's what they should do.
I miss the
buy
toys.
a box of cornflakes and throw the cornflakes away just to complete the collection. I would have so many cornflakes.
I miss that. I would take a toy in the cereal right now. I'm an adult, but still, give me something fun.
Kids choke on them and they stop doing it. It's crazy.
It's always something.
Your toy and Cracker Jacks now is a sticker. Don't get an actual toy.
A sticker.
That's awful.
Well, I mean, Spanner, do you guys have Kinder Surprise eggs over there?
Yeah.
I know when I was a kid, it was always weird to me that you can't get Kinder Surprise eggs in the US. Now, I think they have something. Yeah, see, now they have something. But when I was a kid, I remember always getting them because I'm Canadian, for anyone who doesn't know. But the American regulations on having a toy inside food, even though the toy was inside a plastic egg and clearly the outer chocolate was what you ate, they wanted to make sure that nobody made the mistake of eating these small plastic toy parts. And so so you couldn't sell the Kinder Surprise eggs in the US. Now that's changed, but
they have them now because like the half the egg is the toy and the other half is the chocolate.
Right.
The toy's not in the chocolate anymore.
They're sealed off, independent from each other.
Yeah, they also have ones where basically what you're getting. Like you're buying one that's like, I've seen ones that are, these ones are all Barbie themed and these ones are all, monster truck themed. It's like, it kind of defeats the surprise part to me.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is.
Yeah, that's just a Kinder.
Yeah, and for anyone, if you happen to hear some strange noises, and you probably just saw,
I just saw a tail, kitty.
Yeah, so we have one of our mascots. We have 2 show mascots, and one of them is my cat, James Tiberius Cat, and he has woken up and decided to join the show. So if you hear any strange noises, that is why.
That's cute. That's really cute. So let's do this as a wrap up of our roundtable discussion. Would like to hear 2 things. One, favorite moment from the season finale of Picard, and what you would like to see in the future of Star Trek. In regards to like next series show, it can even be one that was officially announced already, or even one that's kind of like, we know we're getting the last season of Discovery. We know we're getting Strange New Worlds. We know we're getting another season of Lower Decks, right? So
crossover.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the crossover. So let's hear what your favorite moment was from Picard, and it can be the whole season. Let's change that. It could be the whole season. That doesn't have to just be that episode, and what you'd like to see in the future. You want to start us off, Sarah?
Sure. To Megan and Aaron, it's no surprise to them, but I'm a huge Riker Troy fan. And my favorite, I think, moment of the entire series was when Worf rescued them from the strike, and he starts basically, it's not love poetry, but he started, going off, on Deanna and how much she's helped him emotionally and all of this stuff. And Riker's just, giving him the side eye, like, are you kidding me right now? And, saying, hey, that's inappropriate, man. So that was my favorite. I loved the way that all 3 of them played that. As far as the future, this isn't going to happen, but I want to see the Riker Troy sitcom that Jonathan Frakes, Sabrina Sturgis push. The Rikers in space with wacky Uncle Data and the little dog Worf. That's what they say.
Hilarious.
Yeah. But I just want to see more. I mean, like, TNG is my favorite. I would love to see more TNG characters. I mean, they've had their moment this season, but I would like to see more of them in the future in some capacity. So, yeah.
Good. Megan, you want to go next?
For me, I loved all of season 10. I loved all of the 10 episodes of season 3 of Picard. But like, for me, just having that big moment at the end that they're all sitting at the table in Guinan's and all playing poker, like, that was more like what really like tugged. I was like, oh my gosh, it's over. Just to see that the way that all good things ended, with them being able to all gather around that table one more time, and we get to see them laughing and having fun with just each other and being the friends and family that they are. So that's what I loved about that. But I also loved that we got to see all these characters again. Like, it had been forever, and it was such a good send off them versus what we saw them last in the last movie that they did. So I love that. As far as like any of the new Trek that's coming out, I can't say I'm too excited about Academy, because it's, supposedly set in the 35th century of Star Trek. So like, Discovery was not my super favorite, although I've seen it and I'll watch the last season of it. But I would love to see Legacy, depending on what they do with that. Like, it would be great to have that as more integrated with all of these characters that we've gotten to know on Picard, and have the children of our Legacy characters, and then have the Legacy characters sprinkled in. So that'd be a fantastic show for me if Paramount and everyone out there is listening. But I want Terry Matalas to stay at the helm of that, because he did such a good job.
Yes.
With the 3rd season of Picard. So I would want him to be in charge of it and do it.
Aaron, you're next.
I'm probably going to surprise no one and say that I liked anything Voyager reference. And probably when I tried to think of a favorite scene, the first one that came to my mind was when Seven was sitting down with Tuvok, and she basically says, "Okay, let me make this easy for you. I'm resigning." And he plays for her what Captain Shaw recorded about her. And I loved that scene. I thought it was amazing. And then, you get her promotion to captain. And so, yeah, I am going to second what Megan said about I am all for legacy, the way that we're kind of thinking it will work, which is these characters that we've been introduced to in Picard season 3, kind of continuing on, expanding upon that, and sprinkling in some of the characters from the previous series. And I know she got mentioned, but I need some Janeway.
And you got the Janeway coffee mug.
Yes.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yep. That was actually a one of the supporter perks for the doing the documentary on the making of Voyager. So the folks that made the documentary on Deep Space Nine then wanted to go on and do the Voyager one. So they had a Kickstarter kind of thing and different perks levels and all of that. So they are well funded and well on the way to filming that. And I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Okay, good deal. Spanner, why don't you go next?
So I think the struggled a little bit with this last series of Picard. I do like a good cameo, and I don't mind suspending the disbelief. I felt like they were really sledgehammering the cameos and references in a little bit too hard. But there was this moment, and I think it was in episode 9. They get on the bridge of the D for the first time in 30 years, and there's this really great sort of panoramic shot of the LCARS screens all coming on, and you're sort of looking down these screens, and it was effectively this view of the bridge that we never actually saw. They obviously reconstructed the whole bridge set, and now they can put like actual LCD screens there. Like back in the 80s, of course, these were just sprayed perspex. The screens weren't actually dynamic. They couldn't light them up. They couldn't light them up. Couldn't change, could they? There's this great scene where I think it's across the back, sort of behind Worf, and you're looking down, and they all light up as the lights are coming on. And it's just this really cool moment. And go back and look at it. It's toward the end of episode 9. It's just this really, really cool shot of it finally coming out of mothballs, and it was a really nice moment. Future of Trek, I worry again a little bit that they're going to really crowbar all the cameos and all the different actors in. I mean, everybody's an admiral now. You can't have like 5 admirals on a ship that's heading out to the other side of the galaxy. So they're going to have to. I don't know how they're going to work that one in, unless they do, and then it'll feel a bit forced. But what I would like to see, actually, and this we could call this DS10. I would like to see a show about the Starfleet Museum. Geordie on the museum there. I mean, that's going to be that would be a big tourist spot for the whole quadrant. People coming to see the old ships. There would have to be promenades and bars and shenanigans going on when people are pressing buttons that they shouldn't be pressing as they're looking around the ships. There's so much stuff actually could happen there, and it could be quite light-hearted, I think. So that's kind of what I would like to see. I hope Geordie stays on as, I can't remember what he was, like curator of the Starfleet Museum. And that could there could be a lot of fun stuff going on there. I don't think it'll happen, but that's what I would do. As for Legacy and the Titan / Enterprise, we'll watch it. I think they will do a good job. They have to do it. They've no choice now. They set it up, like you said, Jay, they set it up so hard. And now they're just pretending they're not going to do it. I mean, does anybody else look at it like that's the current timeline? I mean, it's all set in the future, but the Picard timeline, which is the same as TNG, because that's what we were alive, I guess, when they were making these things and watching them, which we weren't when it was TOS. And then we've got stuff like way in the future now. And we've got stuff that's back with Strange New Worlds, and it feels like the Picard timeline is now, right?
Yeah. Well, if you listen to Terry Matalas do interviews, that's exactly what he says, is that he wanted to put Star Trek back in the timeline that we had going from the 90s all the way through to today. And so it almost lines up year by year. I think it's maybe 2 or 3 years off, but it's right there, you know. So.
Yes, well, the 80s, it's been going on since the 80s, really, hasn't it? And so that's now. And I think I almost feel like you can't have Star Trek without something in the current timeline. It's nice to have the stuff that, you know, the prequels and the sequels that are going on way in the future. I think Academy is going to be awful as well. So we need something that's now. And so they have to do it.
Well, it's been 20 years, over 20 years since they've done anything. Well, they have animated shows that in this timeline, but no live action stuff, you know? And so that's one reason that I'm looking forward to something like Legacies, because I'm not drawn really to TOS stuff or Discovery timeline or anything like that. I like the 24th to 25th century stuff. So,
yeah.
So,
Big J, what's your feeling on this?
I'm not ready. Even though all of you guys were talking and I had time to think of something, I could not. And I didn't want to be one of those people that's like, my favorite part was the whole season. That's kind of...
I said it. I started that way, so I loved the whole thing.
Yeah, I did. I really did like the whole thing. And if I had to pick, and this is kind of a collective favorite, was how the TNG crew was brought back. I like that it was each person was relevant to the story. It wasn't just everyone's retired, everybody's off doing their own thing, and suddenly they have to be brought together for a thing. They all had their jobs still. Picard is admiral, retired, and Riker, he's a captain, he's active, he's just not in command of a ship. They were like guests of honor for Frontier Day. Beverly was really the driving force of the season with her and her son. So that made sense. When they went on the run to try to lay low after getting away from Vadic, they hid out at the museum. Geordi's a Commodore. Okay. And got data, which Alton Soong had created this body that had the
allowed Brent Spiner to show his age and not be changed and all that stuff. I love that.
Made his aging relevant. And Worf being the handler for Raffi. So each character had a part in the actual plot, in the story. And the one that was the closest to, I think, being ham-fisted in, Deanna Troi, she got kidnapped as leverage to use against Riker. So again, I was okay with that. Yeah. If there's going to be a hostage situation, I was cool with that. There was no other way to bring her in without it looking like fan service. So that's, I would say, my favorite part of the season was how they brought the characters in. I think it was clean, it made sense. I didn't feel like any of it was just totally out of the blue. So in regards to the future, I would have to say I'm kind of with you guys on Starfleet Academy. I don't know. It's right now. I'm not overwhelmed or underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed. Like, okay, yeah, what I would like to see, I would like to see another movie. And I'm hearing that the Section 31 thing with Michelle Yeoh is going to be a movie. Seems like every day, every week, there's talk about another Kelvin timeline movie.
And then it gets canned, and then it gets brought back up, and then it gets canned. And
just make up your mind.
I think they would have done it if Anton Yelchin hadn't passed. I think they would have had another one.
You think he's the reason why it hasn't?
I think that's a big reason, because like I don't want to see anyone else play that character, and no, it's a different timeline, but I don't want that character not there either. So I mean, I think it's partly that, and then actor schedules and what the actual story would be. But I'm totally fine with another Kelvin movie. I liked them. I think Anton Yelchin's passing was a big trigger on that one.
I from what I've heard, which is nothing official, of course, but it sounds like it's more behind the scenes stuff that is really dragging the heels on that, which is, conflicts over who's going to write it, who's going to direct it, who are the producers, and who has the rights to this, and blah, 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 paperwork stuff that seems to be
the usual
what's dragging it down. As far as I know, all the actors are in if they can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from Chris Pine, none of them have had a great deal of work, have they, since the last one?
Well, Carl Urban's got a TV show right now.
The Boys.
And yeah.
The Boys, of course.
Yeah. And then, of course,
Saldana has been busy with the Marvel stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Still
I'd rather see another Judge Dredd, actually, now we're talking about Carl Urban.
See, I was a big fan. I don't know if any of you saw the one season that they gave us of Almost Human. I was a huge fan of that, adored that show.
Who's in that?
Of course, that was Carl Urban and Michael Ealy were the two main characters. It was a futuristic cop drama about a cop who is paired up with an android, and the android he's paired up with is unique. And
I'm writing this down.
It's excellent. I love it, but it was sci-fi on Fox, and I think that's all I need to say.
Oh, so is this an older?
It's a few years old, but it's post Kelvin movies, Carl Urban, but pre The Boys.
Okay.
Basically, it was
it's called Almost Human.
Yes. In fact, if I took this Voyager poster off of the outside of the frame that it's on, there's an Almost Human poster behind it.
Gotcha.
And it was one of those things where, like, we all knew it was getting canned, but they left the last episode ends in a way that it could have continued on, but it also kind of sort of wraps up. But there's so many. Just know that you are getting yourself into a Firefly situation. If you watch this show, you are going to come out with questions that will never be answered.
I see. Okay. Well, I'll be prepared for that. Well,
but to me,
I'm not watching Firefly then.
Yeah, that was always the big reference. Anybody who was a fan of Almost Human was like, Fox, please do not Firefly this show. But of course they did. No, I mean, I heard there were issues, some behind the scenes production issues. It was an expensive show. There was lots of CGI, all that kind of stuff. So there were issues like that ultimately ended in its demise.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, all of you, thank you so much. And we're going to do this once a month just to have some content for the main SPN show, which is great.
That was the other
Almost got
mascot.
through the whole
Sorry.
show.
I was
Sarah?
just going to say,
Did Scarlett join us?
Take it easy there, Sarah. You got a little emotional on us. Oh, it's your doggy. That's cute.
This is Scarlett. This is our other mascot.
Oh,
She's infamous on dropping squeaky balls in while Sarah's talking, or shoving Sarah away from the microphone.
here
yeah.
we're wrapping up is ready to play.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
thank you all. I really appreciate it. Spanner, sorry to keep you up so late. I'm sure you're ready for bedtime, and thank you to the rest of you. And thanks to our audience for listening with us. So
Yeah.
we'll see you again at some point here soon. So thanks, and keep living long and prosper.